Hello hockey fans, and welcome back to another video. Sports and gambling have seemingly gone hand in hand since the dawn of time itself. The moral ethics and the legality behind it have been widely debated, of course, but whether you're making a bet with your friends, entering paid fantasy sports tournaments, or even using a traditional bookmakers, fans have been trying to use their knowledge of a sport in order to earn themselves an extra payday for quite some time now. Though the marriage between these two industries has been a match made in heaven for the most part, there have been several instances where the greed of an athlete or an official has directly affected their sport and its reputation. The MLB had the notorious Black Sox scandal all the way back in 1919, the NBA saw referee Tim Donaghy fixing basketball games during the mid-2000s, while the NFL suspended a pair of players who were betting on other games around the league for an entire season during the 60s. You may have noticed that the NHL wasn't mentioned on that list, and that is because over its 104-year history, there are no public examples of NHL players or officials having ever bet on or attempted to fix hockey games. However, that doesn't mean the league hasn't been embroiled in a betting scandal all of its own. This is the story of Operation Slapshot, the NHL's illegal gambling ring. Before we begin, this video is brought to you by Manscaped. Manscaped is the #1 provider of men's below-the-belt grooming, trusted by over 2 million customers worldwide thanks to their precision-engineered tools that help you take care of what's down there. Let's be honest here lads, looking after your crown jewels is a pretty risky affair. But with Manscaped's new and improved Lawnmower 3.0, you can rest easy knowing that your balls are in the best of hands. With a cutting-edge ceramic blade, 90-minute battery life, waterproof technology and even an LED light, you never have to worry whether the lawnmower is up to the task. So all you have to do is focus on getting your junk exactly how you or your partner likes it. The folks at Manscaped recently sent me their Perfect Package 3.0 kit, and I've been very impressed with the number of high-quality products it provides. I've had this set for the last few weeks now, and I must say that I absolutely adore their ball deodorant. It has a gorgeous lavender smell to it, and if you use it after you shower, it leaves you feeling good and smelling great for the rest of the day. So if you want to get yourself some high-quality male grooming products, help support the channel a little bit further, and shave 20% off your order plus free shipping, head on over to manscaped.com and use the promo code ODDMANRUSH. That's manscaped.com and promo code ODDMANRUSH for 20% off your order plus free shipping. Manscaped, your balls will thank you. But anyway, back to the video. In order to tell this fascinating tale, allow me to take you back to October of 2005, when New Jersey State Police received an anonymous tip claiming that one of their officers was running an illegal sports betting service. The department learned that the state trooper was running this operation out of his Marlton, Burlington County home, and he was even taking bets via phone call while on patrol at his workplace. After receiving this information, the police department quickly set up an undercover investigation that would infiltrate and subsequently dismantle the operation, gathering evidence as to who was involved and how it was operated in order to arrest the culprits and build a watertight case against them for the subsequent court hearings after they were charged. Over the next 4 months, this mission, codenamed Operation Slapshot, discovered that over a 40-day period, the betting service had processed more than 1,000 wagers, exceeding a value of $1.7 million, through betting on football and basketball games, both at the college and professional levels. Once they had gathered all the information they needed, the police department went public with their findings on February 6, 2006. Police Superintendent Rick Fuentes exposed the name of the officer who was running the organisation as James Harney. However, he also named Phoenix Coyotes assistant coach Rick Tocchet as another ringleader in the operation too. According to their investigation, the two men had been good friends for quite some time and were considered to be 50-50 partners in the gambling ring, with Harney handling the day-to-day tasks and Tocchet providing the finances by taking bets and funneling the money back to New Jersey. Tocchet categorically denied these allegations at first, going as far as to file a defamation lawsuit against the state in order to refute these claims, But as time went on and the evidence against him kept growing, the suit was withdrawn and the 18-year veteran of the NHL began to sing a much different tune. Speaking of taking bets, in that same press conference, law enforcement mentioned that several people who were closely associated to or actively involved in the National Hockey League were among Harney and Tocchet's clientele. That said, he declined to identify any specific players or personnel, although he did hint that one of the bettors was a movie celebrity. Though this news clearly didn't paint the NHL in the best light, Fuentes made it clear that at that time, there was no evidence to suggest that the ring had been taking bets on hockey games. This might not seem important given the circumstances, but the fact that neither the ring nor those affiliated with the NHL had been betting on their own sport meant that it was unlikely that the gambling ring had attempted to fix NHL games, a revelation that would have caused major fan backlash and seriously damaged the reputation of the sport. Over the next 48 hours, law enforcement officials began to release the names of several NHL players who had been indicted as part of their investigation. Phoenix Coyotes forward Jeremy Roenick and Toronto Maple Leafs forward Travis Green were the first and the higher profile names mentioned, both of whom were considered to be frequent clients of the operation. There were also rumours that Pittsburgh Penguins forwards Mark Recchi and John LeClair may also be involved, but the pair vehemently denied these accusations, and neither were officially mentioned or seriously investigated by law enforcement. Though the pair of Penguins players didn't appear to be involved, the authorities claimed that there could be up to a dozen NHL players, a number of coaches and staff members, and even an NHL team owner that may be involved. They even implicated Wayne Gretzky's wife, Janet Jones, who the investigation claimed had placed roughly $500,000 worth of bets with Tocchet's operation. Though she herself was under investigation, Jones insisted that her husband Wayne, who was the head coach of the Phoenix Coyotes and therefore Tocchet's superior at the time, had nothing to do with any of it and that she never made any bets on his behalf. In fact, Jones also filed a lawsuit against the state of New Jersey worth $50 million for defamation and the loss of career opportunities thanks to her name being mentioned as part of the investigation, though I can't find any record of her actually going ahead with the suit, so she may have dropped it at a later time. To make matters even worse, authorities also believe that the ring may have connections with the Bruno Scarfo crime family. Not only were they alleged to be paying the crime family a street tax for protection, it is also claimed that they used the Philadelphia-based group as a layoff bank when they wanted to move large amounts of cash unnoticed. So not only were several people linked to the NHL being investigated for betting in an illegal gambling ring, the operation itself supposedly had ties to the Philadelphian Mafia. The deeper you dig, the crazier this story gets, folks? However, it's worth mentioning that the links to the Mafia were nothing more than rumours or speculation at this point in time, and that neither Jones nor any other player or staff member in the NHL was formally charged or sentenced as part of the investigation. In fact, Rick Tocchet was the only person linked to the NHL that even went to court, let alone received a sentence. Instead, law enforcement used the testimonies of those who had placed bets in order to determine whether there was any illegality on the bettors' part and to try to learn more about the size and scope of the operation. When asked how widespread it was, law enforcement stated that there was a number of athletes, both retired and still active, making bets with this particular group all over America and in Canada, but they couldn't say how many bettors were connected to the NHL. As you might expect, in the days after Operation Slapshot was made public, both Tocchet and James Harney found themselves in some pretty hot water. Harney was quickly suspended from his job on the police force, where his former employers charged him with official misconduct, promoting gambling, money laundering, and conspiracy. He even had his house raided by his former co-workers, where they recovered more than $250,000 worth of Rolex watches and 9 plasma screen TVs, including 2 that sat in his bathroom. Yeah, that doesn't look suspicious at all, does it, folks? On the flip side, Tocchet was served a criminal complaint informing him that he needed to travel to New Jersey immediately, before he was also charged with the same crimes as Harney, all of which were second degree and each carried a maximum prison sentence of up to 10 years. Interestingly, a third man was also arrested as part of the investigation, as James Ulmer was charged with promoting gambling, money laundering and conspiracy after it was discovered that he had also helped to take bets for the operation, albeit in a minor role compared to the two ringleaders. Both Harney and Ulmer were able to post bail and await their trials outside of a jail cell, but not before police also seized a further $27,000 worth of currency, a large amount of sports betting information, and a number of bank accounts worth hundreds of thousands of dollars between them. And that's on top of Harney's watch collection and his plasma screen TVs. While the police officer and the third wheel were losing all of their stuff, Rick Tocchet had caused the NHL a fair bit of trouble. Still reeling from the fan backlash brought about by the 04-05 lockout season, the NHL weren't too happy to hear that one of their own had involved so many people around the league in an illegal gambling ring, so they began their own investigation into the situation. Tocchet was also asked to meet with League Commissioner Gary Bettman, and after discussing the situation with him, Bettman announced that Rick Tocchet had been suspended from the league indefinitely. At the same time, Tocchet also announced that he would be taking his own leave of absence in order to attend the necessary court hearings and resolve the situation as quickly as possible. I'm not really sure why he needed to announce a leave of absence if he'd already been suspended by the league, but maybe that's just me. Several months went by and media coverage of the investigation began to drift away as the three defendants attended their court hearings and fought the overwhelming odds against them. In an effort to cooperate with law enforcement and limit his prison time from his 20-year maximum sentence, on August 3, 2006, James Harney pled guilty to conspiracy, promoting gambling and official misconduct, while also promising to help the authorities to build a case against his friend and now former business partner Rick Tocchet. However, this guilty plea wouldn't help him avoid jail time altogether, as he was sentenced to 6 years in prison exactly a year later on August 3, 2007. Less than 4 months after Harney's guilty plea on December 1, 2006, the smallest cog of the machine also made his decision in court, as James Ulmer pled guilty to conspiracy and promoting gambling, while also agreeing to help the authorities in their case against Tocchet. So by the end of 2006, 2 of the 3 men involved had pled guilty to their crimes, and with the details and cooperation from their new informants, the authorities set their sights solely on Rick Tocchet. As the world entered the year 2007, any news regarding Tocchet and Operation Slapshot went practically radio silent. Tocchet was still suspended from the NHL, developments in the story were few and far between, and there was little to no media coverage as the former assistant coach awaited his next date in court. In fact, it would take another half a year after Ulmer's guilty plea before a decision was finally made, as on May 25, 2007, Tocchet appeared in court and pled guilty to conspiracy and promoting gambling. Though the severity of his crime still made him eligible for up to 10 years of jail time and a $50,000 fine, Tocchet was instead sentenced to 2 years on probation. Why did he get off so lightly, I hear you ask? Well, according to the proceedings, there had been several key developments in the story which had rendered many of the more serious claims the investigation initially made to simply be unsubstantiated. As it turned out, the gambling ring never had any recorded ties to the Philadelphian Mafia, meaning that the group never had dealings with the crime family and immediately reduced the severity and scope of the whole operation, which in turn reduced the required sentence he would receive. On top of this, no other figures within the hockey world were ever charged or forced to testify as part of the trial other than Rick Tocchet himself, meaning it was more of an isolated incident than a deep-rooted league-wide operation. And finally, it was officially confirmed that the group never bet on any hockey games, so they had never attempted to fix their own sport in the pursuit of money, and they hadn't damaged the integrity or the legitimacy of the NHL in any way. Did they bring the league some negative publicity when they really didn't need it? Yes, they did. But did they cause any lasting damage to the game? No, they did not. Following Tocchet's sentencing, Operation Slapshot had come to a very successful end as the 3 perpetrators had been brought to justice and sentenced in court for their respective crimes. While Ulmer left with a shiny new criminal record and James Harney began his lengthy prison sentence, Rick Tocchet would continue to serve his suspension from the NHL and take some time away from the sport in order to reflect on his role in the operation and the ramifications it had for him, his business partners, and the league as a whole. Having determined that Tocchet's role in the gambling operation was not as deep as the initial reports had suggested, in November of 2007, NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman announced that Tocchet's suspension would come to an end in 3 months' time, meaning that he was eligible to return to the league from February of 2008. However, this deal came with a few caveats, as Tocchet would have to refrain from gambling in any way in the future, and he would have to be willing to submit himself to doctors approved by both the NHL and the NHLPA so they could determine whether he had an issue with compulsive gambling. Having agreed to these demands, the Phoenix Coyotes wasted little time bringing Tocchet back into the fold once February rolled around, as they rehired him to his previous role as the team's associate head coach. In the several interviews he conducted after his return, Tocchet was clear that he had made a terrible mistake by getting involved in the ring, while also saying that he felt great remorse for putting both his career and his relationships with his friends and family in jeopardy. Tocchet knew that he had paid a heavy price for his actions, and rightfully so, but he was hoping that now that it was all over, the whole situation could be left in the past and he could focus on helping the Coyotes win hockey games. Sentiments that were shared by both head coach Wayne Gretzky and general manager Don Maloney. Once he had returned to the NHL, Rick Tocchet spent the rest of the 07-08 season with the Coyotes before joining the Tampa Bay Lightning organization the following year, where he served as both an assistant coach and the head coach over the next 2 years. From there, the Canadian would take another lengthy hiatus from the NHL, this time for roughly half a decade, before returning to the league in 2014 in order to serve as an assistant coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins. After 3 seasons and a Stanley Cup with the organization, Tocchet would return to Arizona for the 17-18 NHL season in order to finally take the reins as the head coach of the team, a role he continues to serve to this very day as the 2021 NHL season gets underway. So a guy who had helped to operate and finance an illegal gambling ring brought further controversy to a league still reeling from a season-long lockout and caused an investigation into several high-profile NHL personalities, including Wayne Gretzky's wife, basically got a slap on the wrists and was allowed to return to his job 2 years later, while his co-conspirator had to spend up to 6 years in prison. I know that the whole situation wasn't as serious as initially speculated, but the respective punishments seem a little lopsided if you ask me. I guess being a famous athlete has more perks than you think, eh folks? And that's the story of Operation Slapshot and the NHL's illegal gambling ring. What do you guys think about this whole situation? Also, what do you think about Rick Tocchet's involvement or his NHL career as a whole? Let me know in the comments below, I would love to hear what you guys think. But thank you very much for watching guys, I hope you have enjoyed. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share or watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much for watching and goodbye. A big thank you to Carl Fairbank, Chris Gadsby, Connor B, Drew Fawcett, Jordan Whitehead, Martin Tolness, Roman from London, Tom from Finland and Worthless Pieces for helping support this video via Patreon. If you too want to help support the channel a little bit further and get a shout out at the end of every future video, make sure you head over to patreon.com/oddmanrush and become a patron today.